Hello and welcome back to the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Jim.
I'm Owen.
I'm Bob.
And today we're going to talk about Ahsoka Episode 3. And as of recording this is Thursday, so that's been out for 2 days. Bobby watched it on the day that it came out. So I'm actually going to let Bobby speak his mind first because he had some time to let everything marinate a little bit more. We're still kind of just dealing with what we just watched. And
Yes, from the time we're recording this, we all sat down and just watched the episode like 10 minutes ago. So, but as Jim said, I watched it 2 days ago. So I'm just going to throw this out there. Since we're already into episode 3, I'm not going to bother separating spoilers because if you're watching this, you should expect spoilers at this point. Because the only thing to say would be, yeah, it looks like a Star Wars show. Then we're into spoilers. So, but for what it's worth, yeah, it does look like a Star Wars show.
I think probably the most Star Wars-y show that they've had, just about.
Yeah, a lot of space action in this one. So
Yes, a lot of Star
yes,
Wars.
wars among the stars, conflict anyway. All right. So first, I want to say before what I say, I don't mean it to come off as insanely negative. I enjoyed the episode, short though it was. But it does reinforce my fear that we are literally just going to see Thrawn in the last episode because nothing happened of any significance in this episode. Like some pieces got moved around the board, but that's basically it. And that's not good because this whole series rests on the whole, hey, Thrawn's coming back, he's the big bad. And if he doesn't show up until the last episode, like, that's going to be awful. Especially since we know we're losing one of the other villains because of real world events. And we've barely seen him at all. That'd be Ray Stevenson's character. So, to my mind, this episode, and one scene in particular, highlights some serious problems we're going to have. There's a scene where Hera is trying to convince the leadership of the New Republic to send some ships to go investigate. Now, first and foremost, she completely bungled the scene. She shouldn't have been like, oh, Thrawn's coming back. She should have been, hey, someone stole a bunch of hyperdrives from Super Star Destroyers and we know where they took them. Let's go check that out, maybe. And she never says that. And, like, then old Senator Jackass couldn't be like, oh, well, Thrawn's dead. You know, like, it doesn't matter. We know they stole these things. We know they took them somewhere. They're probably not taking them for a bake sale. So they should have logically gone to investigate that. She screwed that up. Now, aside from that, the other problem is that scene reminds us that everything is going to turn to shit very shortly after this because the sequel trilogy is not going anywhere. And this isn't very long after the defeat of the Empire. We know that the New Republic disbands its fleet very shortly after this at some point, very stupidly. And we already know that the New Republic is filled with Imperial loyalists all over the place. We know we're not going to get a show about like some kind of counterinsurgency on the inside. That's just not going to happen. So, more than likely, Senator Jackass is probably an imperialist, and it's going to come back to bite him. But it also shows that, as Hera points out, none of those senators fought in the war. So why are they senators? Why would anyone in the New Republic fleet put up with that? They're the ones who defeated the Empire. Why would they be like, hey, these other people that just set things out to see who won, let's put them in charge? That's not what happens in Revolution. But no. More than likely, Admiral Akbar would probably get put in charge. Or maybe General Madine. Or maybe Princess Leia, or maybe it would be Mon Mothma. She was the figurehead, but the others wouldn't have been like, oh, hey, those guys that were Imperial senators, they can be New Republic senators. Why not? It's showing that they're already back to the system like the Republic that we saw in the prequels that was already falling apart.
Yeah.
Why is anyone trying to bring back that system?
And the other problem with that is the fact that they're already in a weakened state, and they're trying to implement that. I mean, and I understand why because you kind of saying that is, I understand why Mon Mothma couldn't and shouldn't take leadership is because they would say, okay, you're just replacing one ruler with another ruler. How do we know that this wasn't your plan the whole time?
Right.
But to the point, Mon Mothma is one of the few that she can actually say, I fought in the rebellion.
Yeah, yeah. I know Mon Mothma. I could see why they put her in charge if they didn't put Akbar or Maydeen or someone else like that in charge. It's all the other senators. Everyone that literally just sit back to see which way things went. Like, no, I don't think so. We've still got the fleet and the guns, and you're just a guy in a fancy outfit. Like, I think we're just going to shoot you because you're a troublemaker. And let's put, I don't know, Captain Rex. You want to be a senator? He's still alive.
Well, this may be leading up to why they disbanded the fleet, anyways, because all these Imperial plants are like, yeah, sure, disband your fleet.
Yeah, but the problem is
that doesn't make
we're on that predestined course because of the sequel trilogy, and there's just no way around it. It's like whenever we're sitting there with Sabine and Ahsoka. Train her all you want, you're both going to die. Like, neither of you is anywhere in the sequel trilogy, so either you died with Luke's people, or you left, or you died from something else. Everything you're doing is futile. Like, we all know Grogu's going to die at some point, probably because of Ben. Ben's an asshole. Like, in fact, I saw someone broke down the timeline. Ben's already alive at this point. That's how close we are to the sequel trilogy in the timeline. It's not that far from the original trilogy. Ben would already be alive. Rey's like 1 year from being born, which means Palpatine's clone is already still alive and active because she's the offspring of one of his non-Force sensitive clones. I mean, that means the First Order has to already be active. Like, it's all just a bunch of... Once you start seeing all these pieces, and then you see that scene, you're like, none of this is going to matter.
Well, I mean, one point is Sabine could, if she doesn't become a Jedi ever, she could be fine to be alive well into whatever, because...
Yeah, she could probably just go join the Mandalorians, maybe.
Which...
But even there, even with Sabine and Ahsoka, that's one of the other problems. Ahsoka thinks she can't make it. Sabine thinks she can't make it. Both of them don't seem like they actually want to do it. So logically, why are either of them even trying? If you have two people who both think it's going to fail and both don't want to do it, there's no outside impetus for either of them to do it. Human beings just don't behave that way. I mean, I know Ahsoka's not a human being, but you know what I mean. She's, whatever she is. They'd both just be like, all right, fuck it, Ahsoka, you got your lightsaber, I've got my Mandalorian weapons, we can do this.
And maybe that's the way they're going, is that none of this actually fits into anything. It's just kind of like, how did we get to the other point? I don't think they have to be around in, because they don't have to go to the Jedi Academy. They don't have to do anything.
Well, sure, but are we really going to have that Ahsoka somehow survives the Clone Wars, the Jedi Purge, dies from Vader, gets brought back, somehow survives the other Purge? I mean, at some point it's like, no, Rey's not the Mary Sue. I think we know who the Mary Sue is.
Well, here. Do we even know that? That's what I'm saying, is do we even know it's a Purge? We know he obliterated the
only Jedi that we know of. Like, we only know of Luke and his one training facility.
Yeah.
Which brings up another problem. Why is Ahsoka dragging around that droid that's got all kinds of Jedi knowledge to dangerous places to act as her, chauffeur? She should have been like, here, Luke, this will help you in infinite ways in your training. Let me go get a random 3PO droid. Because that's all I actually need.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like she's doing that. She's also acting like she's a Jedi, but she's not. Because her character up to that point is not stoic. She's very freewheeling. And now all of a sudden she's, super patient and free. Like, no. You don't evolve into that from having told the Jedi to go fuck themselves.
Well, I mean, I think she's just what you would consider either a gray Jedi or just a Force user.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's acting like she's a Jedi Master in terms of tone and temperament. But she's not. Like, her character up to that point was not like that. And in the interim, I doubt she became that way all of a sudden. Or unless this is yet another thing that we needed to know about that happened off screen between the shows. Kind of like the whole Sabine being a Jedi thing.
Well, I mean,
that's just bad storytelling, by the way, if that's the case.
Well, I mean, this can be Rogue One, where you know that nothing in the movie actually matters because it's just a story in between.
Yeah, to a point.
Well, it doesn't. Nothing matters because we know that the Death Star plans were not taken off of a planet by, a rogue cell. It was Kyle Katarn.
Hmm. I don't know. The book Death Star seems to argue with you on that point, Jimmy.
You've clearly never played Star Wars Lethal Alliance then.
What?
It was stolen by a Twi'lek mercenary.
Yeah. So somehow the Death Star plans has been stolen like 15 times by.
Yes, much like the Joker in The Dark Knight, the Death Star's background is multiple choice.
You want to know how I got these plans? My father.
Well, even its construction is, because in the old EU, Basil Lamelisk is the architect, not the what are they? Not Toydarians. What the hell were they?
The
Geonosians. Yeah, no, it's a different. It was a guy.
I don't even know if the Geonosians were the ones that actually constructed it.
No, I just know that in the old EU, once the Death Star got destroyed, Palpatine took out his vengeance on Basil Lamelisk. He killed him, then cloned him, then killed him, and kept doing that. He made each successive clone watch the one before it die. So, yeah.
Well, I like the. I can't even think what it was on. It was a Facebook video that I always seen jumping around where the inventor of the Death Star was trying to tell everybody. He's like, hey, he's like, the fact that I was cooling this giant Death Star with the ports the size of a womp rat, he's like, that should show just how great I am. And he's like, how could I also have planned for space wizards?
Well, now in fairness, that's like I've seen one person explain, like the Old Republic. People are like, well, Palpatine. It's like, if you're in a universe where space wizards exist, you need to plan for space wizards. Like, that's all there is to it.
Well, the solution would just be to put a grate over it.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of, like a grate, anything.
Well, like the Family Guy's version of it is like, just put some plywood up over it.
Yeah, which would have also been the solution to the second Death Star. Just put grates up in the tunnel. Like, because then the fighters are just going to smash into them and blow up and be like, good luck into the reactor. You could literally do that like 10 minutes before they got there.
Yeah, or
so there's no way they'd ever get the plans for it,
Or even if you do have some sort of thing, it's like, okay, well, we need these for maintenance, but when security purposes,
hit the button, close the grate, or have some of your fighters inside the reactor chamber. Because it's not like they give a shit about their health.
Why couldn't they just have a force field inside there?
Force field, turbo lasers, something, anything. Yeah.
All right, Owen. So, what were your general thoughts? Because I mean, obviously, we didn't have the time to think about.
Yeah. So again, just briefly, Owen. Closing. I still like the episode. I'm still going to see how it all pans out. It's
unfortunate that it's leading to the sequel trilogy.
Yes, pretty much.
Maybe it won't. Maybe somehow they'll find Ezra and time travel will happen. And
we can only hope. But since Kathleen Kennedy's still in charge, I doubt it.
All right.
I thought it was too short, clocking in at only about half an hour. Stuff happened, but it wasn't really important. They know that it's a big hyperspace ring. They saw the space whales.
Well, I mean, they have that even in the outro where they have like the space whales and such. Yeah, I think that was our comment at the end of the first two episodes. Like, yeah, they're just building a giant space ring, but we had to see, and now we know.
They did mention that the Jedi had hyperspace lanes mapped out for intergalactic travel, which I don't think you need to because there's nothing there. Like, it's that way, go.
Well, I mean, but that was one of the issues with traversing the unknown regions. That's why they didn't find the Chiss until, a good decent amount of time.
Sure, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's literally nothing. Like, it's empty space. There's nothing to hit. Just go.
Well, the great thing is that it's their whatever. They can. And the only other thing is that, especially with the distance there, is that's saying that everything's staying relative to where it was at when the plans were.
Yeah, you saw the end of The Empire Strikes Back. It's all just kind of right there. We already knew they could leave the galaxy. They did it right there.
Yeah, because they were outside looking in.
Yeah, because you could see the galactic disk. Now, officially, that's supposed to be something else now, but
it could be the Rishi Maze.
No, it's not the Rishi Maze. That's what everyone asks. It's not that. It's something else. But no, it's like officially it's something else. But everyone's like bullshit. That's a spiral galaxy. We can all see what that is. Like they're in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, Jim, sorry.
Well, and the one thing that I'm hoping that they lead to, kind of with those comments, is that that this would be kind of like, I would say a New Hope, not that they would do with stuff like a New Hope, but that it would lead up to, maybe either a small victory or something, or have it be like the Empire Strikes Back, where I'm trying to think how to say this, that it would kind of be like a New Hope, that they would, either save the day, or they would, find a way of doing something heroic, but then realize that now Thrawn's in the picture, and that it's going to be leading into a world of hurt for a while. And I don't want it to. I don't want it to end on a positive note. I think it should end on, okay, now we're totally screwed. But it needs to have something that shows why they're screwed. Maybe that they get there, they do something, but then it's quickly reeled in.
I mean, they'll be screwed if Thrawn makes it back to the galaxy.
Which he's going to.
Because if he does, at the moment, they're like, oh, the Imperial fleet's fractured. Okay, well then if one of the Grand Admirals shows back up, they're one of the few people that can be like, look, I'm in charge, you're all going to fall in line. And the Empire will coalesce behind them.
Yeah.
Because they're second only to the Emperor in terms of power. And plus, we really want to go down that road. He's technically not subject to any surrender that was already signed because he wasn't there. And he'll say that Masamita was an idiot and be like, no, we got enough stuff here, guys. Trust me, I'm the master tactician. Well, man, I could beat the galaxy. I could defeat the galaxy with 4 Star Destroyers.
Yeah, and I say I'm just not as I had this whole thought in my head. I'm just finding not a way of elegantly putting it.
Is it a more elegant thought?
Oh, I know what I was thinking.
Elegant age?
That it needs to be it needs to end in a way where they're on the losing end of things, and then they can have that return to greatness. This needs to be the Empire Strikes Back. They need to skip over a happy ending. It needs, they're on the run. They're being, they're getting their asses kicked at every point, in the future, to lead up to then their moment of triumph
Well, I agree, but the problem is the sequel trilogy.
Well, yeah.
That's going to be the perpetual problem here, because I agree with you narratively. It's what it needs to happen. Is Thrawn needs to be the threat. Thrawn needs to have the Empire coalesce behind him, and then somehow or another they defeat them. The problem is we know they're going to do that, and then be like, oh, despite facing another threat, let's disband the fleet. Let's do all these stupid things.
Well,
that's the problem, is they're narratively in this corner that they can't get out of, unless they just say, fuck the sequel trilogy.
And what they could do, though, is if they make this, say, a 2-season kind of thing, whatever, is that it would end with the Battle of Jakku. Because
that's already happened.
Yeah. That was the final.
The Battle of Jakku is a year after the defeated Endor.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. The timeline is so screwed up for this because they let a total amateur write all their shit for right after Jedi, and then a total amateur make everything for the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, so
they're bookended by bullshit is the problem.
Yeah, so
and now the sequel trilogy is colliding with the new EU, which is colliding with the old EU that they're shoving into the new EU.
Yes.
So there is no place that it would fit.
No.
Because the only thing that would happen is that the Empire gets control of Coruscant, complete control of Coruscant, and then it leads into the sequel trilogy where Thrawn's still leading the Empire Remnant, and that's why the First Order has to try to do its own thing, and they're staying out of it.
Yeah, I mean, something like that could happen. But yeah, we still get the monumentally stupid. Let's just disband the fleet. I without even knowing the rest of this, that's been the stupidest thing I heard from the sequel trilogy all along.
Well, yeah, it would make sense because
Let's just
Even in their own books, they state that the Empire is still a thing. And the Empire, being the Empire, is not going to be like, okay, we're just going to chill over here.
Right.
They're going to be like, oh, well, they just got rid of all of their fleet.
Yeah. They'll be like, all right, time to build up for the inevitable push outwards.
Well, and, I think a lot of people, I mean, when I say a lot of people, people like the Mon Cala or the Mon Calamari, they're going to be like, yeah, you guys are dumb. It's a trap.
It's obviously a trap.
It's a trap.
Well, I mean, they're the ones who build all the ships.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's hard to.
No, you're right, because they totally messed with my brain on where this would even fit.
It's hard to enjoy these things knowing that those are going to happen. Because, like, it's to your point, it's different with Rogue One. Like, we know parts of it don't matter, but we also know it's like the first step in what becomes the original trilogy. We know that the good guys win in the end, and presumably we weren't rooting for the Empire in Rogue One. Maybe, I don't know. But so the fact that they lose the plans, like, that had to happen.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that could be redeeming factors. One is trying to avoid any spoilers is where people were talking about who Merrick is. Merrick is the Inquisitor.
Is it a character we know of already?
No, that's the thing. Some people have said, some people were throwing guesses out there. One of them was that it's Cal Kestis from.
Heck, I've even heard some people say that is Ezra.
Could be Starkiller. Yeah, it could be Ezra.
Yeah, that's what I'm personally thinking it's going to wind up being.
Who?
Ezra. Like brainwashed or something.
It could be the band better than Ezra.
Yeah, could be.
That'd be good.
Could be a member of the Cantina band.
There's no room in that helmet.
That's right. They were all Biths, weren't they? The Sith Lord before.
Was it Bith?
Yeah, before
Plagueis.
Before Plagueis, yeah, it was a Bith.
And he was like one that didn't really practice like all the he was more of a scientist. He was trying to unravel the how all the Force and stuff works, so that he's like, well, no, the true whatever is going to be figure out how this works, and we can either destroy that or learn how to control that.
Well, there's in the old EU, there's a short story where he's basically trapped in a living hell now.
Yeah.
Because he's just like endlessly reliving his death or something like that. Like he was able to like avoid actually dying, but he's just locked where he is. So, because he did figure out how to do stuff with the midichlorians, but just not quite enough.
Yeah. And then comes the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah. You ever read the Darth Plagueis book?
I have.
Say it's good.
Does it go over how Palpatine got him drunk and then murdered him in his drunken stupor?
Yeah, and while he does that is whenever Maul is fighting Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
So it kind of made it oops.
Yeah, because he and Plagueis had performed some kind of ritual that was supposed to tilt the Force in favor of the dark side, and that's the moment that Anakin was conceived. That was like the counterbalance. And then whenever Palpatine thinks he's like at the peak of his powers is whenever he kills Plagueis, but then loses his apprentice. And he's just kind of like, goddamn Force. Because he knows like that's what's happening is the balance is trying to play out. So, but I believe that book also has Maul questioning his place and everything. Because he's like, I can't be the successor. He's not teaching me all the important things. Like he's beginning to realize he's just a blunt instrument. Yeah, interesting book.
All right, any other thoughts? Because we gotta wrap this up. Because being a father here, I got kids that have school in the morning. So
in brief, I think they could have easily spotted the ship because it's a very big ship that had to be a big clearing to land in. I think they could. I think flying over, they would have seen it.
Oh yeah.
Second, even if they didn't, unless there's a problem we don't know about, a magnetic scan is going to find a giant chunk of metal down there. Like there's no reason they shouldn't have found them.
Yeah, my thought was that they should have flown into like a cave or some sort of
I'm hoping, since they're on the ground, that we're going to see some of Ray Stevenson's character in the next episode. And not for like 10 seconds in a lightsaber fight and then it cuts to black.
Well, I just like the plot convenience of that everybody that gets shot down is just a random guy in a helmet.
Yeah.
It's probably the same guy doing the same.
Let's send 6 people, 4 of them are mooks. Oh, look at that. The 4 mooks all got shot down. What are the odds of that?
I mean, I get the ones have force powers. I did like the attention to the force sensitive headset that at least the one was wearing. The other one should have been wearing it too.
Yeah, you mean like they had in Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to tap into, because somehow you're able to use the force to manipulate things and get things like controlling the ship. And
yeah.
But no, you gotta wear the helmet that restricts your vision.
Yeah.
You
gotta keep his identity hidden,
maybe
even from his allies.
Maybe a reveal. Who knows? And I wonder, after Ahsoka fought, is why she didn't pursue any further. She kind of wondered who that was. And then maybe there was a moment, because there was a moment of hesitation where she could have easily killed him.
Yeah,
because he had no weapon.
Yeah, that's kind of, what do we have? 4 episodes left.
I think so.
So assuming there's 4 episodes left, we've got to get to Thrawn. We've got to figure out what on earth the other 2 are. We know the one's probably a former Jedi, but we need to know what their deal is. We need to know what the Inquisitor's deal is. There's a lot we've still got to cover in 4 episodes. Plus, we know for a fact somewhere along the way we're going to get a cameo appearance. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Hayden Christensen. So, presumably in a flashback, but who knows?
Well, I think they already showed on the trailer with
Yeah, from the current rumor is episode 5 is we're gonna get the cameo there, and it's gonna be some kind of flashback, alternate version of the Mustafar fight. So we'll see, but that has to play out, whatever that's gonna be. We've got to get whatever plot line is going to finish up for Hera, for Sabine, for Ahsoka.
Well, I don't know if any plot lines have to finish up. It can.
But there's got to be some sense of something has to finish.
No, you're right, because as I said again, I reiterated over and over. That was my biggest issue with the Book of Boba Fett, is that there was no finish to any arc. Yeah, they won the battle, but
we got to figure out how Din Djarin's going to figure it out.
Season 1 can't just be chapter 1 of 2 chapters. It has to be its own thing.
I don't know. I'm going to say that the greatest season-ending show of all time was the Silver Surfer, for the animated Silver Surfer series.
Silver Surfer was a good one.
Because, it ended on a 2-parter.
Yeah.
That never had
the second part.
Well, the live-action Mortal Kombat series ended that way, too, with Shao Kahn victorious, everyone dead, and Raiden about to be killed by him, and he's just like, you guys can't beat me. And it's to be continued. It's no, it's not. Shao Kahn just wins.
Honestly, that's a better ending.
It was. Although, to my mind, the best one's actually from Angel, the Buffy spinoff. It ends on the cliffhanger, but they knew that was the ending. It was intentional. It wasn't just it's literally the few of them that are left alive are in a back alley about to fight this giant army of monsters, and they're just all right, well, I guess we're going down swinging, and that's it. That's where the show ends.
And they knew it was ending.
Yeah, that was the intentional ending of the show. No, it was great. It made sense for the episode and everything. It was perfect. I don't like some of the later things Joss Whedon did, some of the things that have infected the MCU, but. No, that was perfect. So.
All right. Well.
Yeah, looking forward to the other episodes. Despite my complaints, I'm going to keep watching. Obviously, it's not terrible.
Yeah,
it's no Rise of Skywalker.
Well, and I think it's a good story. It's just, as you can tell, trying to find a place for it to fit into the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And now when you're hiding behind me on the camera, so people may want to see you back there. They don't want to be there's a random voice just chiming in from the background.
That's the ghost that haunts the house here.
Right?
Maybe.
Probably still better than Book of Boba Fett at this point.
Yeah, at least it's not all flashbacks while someone's in a bacta-tank.
And I think, and my critique on Book of Boba Fett on that is that the flashbacks were fine, but it should have started just with him getting up to the point and then a story continuing on. But
Yeah.
it's like every single thing he was doing had to have like a flashback to kind of show how it relates to all of
Yeah, that and that whole like, hey, I guess I'm kind of a good guy now.
this. Well, I think he wanted to be a gangster boss, but he wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're gonna be the good gangster.
I don't know. I'm just glad that he went back to writing a creature like he did in the holiday special. So
Yeah, well, I'm just glad for the Danny Trejo cameo appearance. Because that's who I needed in Star Wars was Danny Trejo.
well, I don't know. I wonder if we're gonna get any other surprise like celebrity cameos in here.
I don't know.
I mean, we already had Lizzo and Jack Black, so
Yeah, we did. We got Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper in one of the sequel movies.
no, it was
Force
Daniel
Awakens.
Craig.
Yeah, Daniel Craig.
He said,
Daniel Craig, James Bond.
"Oh,
When?
He was the stormtrooper that Rey's like, "Let me go," and he's like, "I'll let you go." He was that stormtrooper.
I don't know." For some reason, I thought he said something else. I guess
What do you think it said?
I don't even know.
That's random.
Daniel Craig.
Maybe. All right.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see someone. But yeah, Jim's got to get going. There's not really a whole lot else to say, and plus, if we can get this uploaded, I can get this on tomorrow, maybe. So
Yeah, well, that's going to do. I'm sit down on the computer and get going. Any other closing comments, Owen? You want to do the send off?
any random, very short guesses to the next episode plot?
I bet the rain's going to fly somewhere.
I bet it won't. I bet it's all going to be down on the planet. Maybe Hera's off in space doing whatever, but I bet the bulk of the action for those characters is going to be entirely on the planet. The ring doesn't go. If it does, it's the last 2 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, well, I just said the ring was going to go. I didn't say when.
Is the ring for a Star Destroyer or a Super Star Destroyer?
Well, that's the other question. Is the ring for anything, or is it just the ring to mount all the hyperspace engines on? Because if it's for something, it's for like a Star Destroyer or something of that scale. You know?
Well, it could be for a Super Star Destroyer, but it seems a little... It doesn't seem like the diameter is big enough.
Maybe not a Super Star Destroyer, but probably probably an Imperial 2 Star Destroyer.
Yeah. Anyways, Owen, you want to do the send off? Come on, you're gonna do your own video. Do you want to do the like, comment,
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
share the video?
Share the video. Hit that notification bell, and tune in next week for episode 4.
Yes.
A New Hope.
And yes, and make sure that if you're hitting the like button, you hit the like button, not the dislike button.
Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Because the dislike went away.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It's wait, when we've had people disliking our videos.
The podcast is the one I'm talking about. The other one still has the dislike, but the podcast there was the like and then there was a dislike, so it's like 50%. I could see them on the back end.
Dislikes.
And the dislike went away.
Those are just likes from Australia.
Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for watching, and we'll be back for episode 4.
May the force be with you.
Always.